This is an LMC Media community conversation. I'm Maura Carlin. May 15th to June 15th is National Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month. Now, you may be wondering what Tourette syndrome really is and what it is not, as well as why awareness and education is really important. And my guests are going to answer those questions for you. Dr. Helene Wallaceva chairs the New York Hudson Valley chapter of the Tourette Association of America. And Andrew Fogarty is a youth ambassador for the Tourette Association, or TAA. Helene, many folks, first, thank you for being here. Many folks don't know much about Tourette, or what they do know is based on exaggerated or inaccurate media portrayals. So can you tell us what it is and what it isn't?
Sure. So Tourette is a neurodevelopmental disorder usually diagnosed in childhood that involves tics. And tics are involuntary movements or noises. To be formally diagnosed with Tourette, you have to have at least 2 motor tics and 1 vocal tic that persists for more than a year. So what Tourette is not is uncontrollable cursing, even though that's what's usually portrayed in the media. In fact, less than 10% of people with Tourette have the cursing symptom, which is technically called coprolalia. So it is a relatively rare symptom that's not required to be diagnosed with Tourette.
Andrew, as a youth ambassador, your job is to educate the public, mostly school-age children, about Tourette syndrome. Why is this education and awareness necessary, and why is it important to you?
So that's a very good question. And I think it is really important because when kids are in their formative years and they're just kind of getting used to interacting with people in like a school environment or in a work environment, it's important that they have a good experience with that. And if there's a kid with Tourette syndrome or something along those lines, any neurological disorder really, that can make it difficult for them to get along and be understood by other people, and that can kind of ruin their perception of what the world might offer down the road. And I think that it's important that that doesn't happen. And I'm glad it didn't happen to me.
So you were lucky. It's about building tolerance.
Absolutely.
How has Tourette syndrome affected you?
I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of supportive people, but it has been painful occasionally because I pulled muscles in my neck by shaking my head around. It's embarrassing sometimes, and anybody with Tourette can attest to that. That it's not something that you stand up and you're proud like of your taking. It can get in the way of things, and it's not always very fun. But there've always been people there by my side, and people have been very understanding for me. And I'm aware that a lot of people don't have that, and that's why I like to put myself out there.
That's lovely. Helene, I know you do presentations in schools for the administration and staff. I gather Tourette syndrome has a big effect in education.
Absolutely. And in fact, Andrew and I have gone in together to present to teachers on to help them understand how Tourette syndrome and its associated disorders affects kids in the classroom and impacts their learning. And we talk about specific strategies that teachers can use to help support kids in the classroom. And one of them is, in fact, having a youth ambassador come in and do peer education to the classmates. Because once other kids understand that the child with Tourette is not doing this on purpose to annoy them, it's due to a medical condition, it really changes the culture of the classroom and makes kids so much more understanding.
Now, I know you also go out into the community beyond school-age children, like to police departments.
Yes, in fact, one of our youth ambassadors from the chapter recently piloted a program to offer training to law enforcement in White Plains. And because he was concerned, once he got his driver's license, what if he was pulled over and the police misinterpreted his motor tics or vocal tics as having a seizure or being under the influence of drugs or just being disrespectful. There's a common tic is eye rolling tic or a head shaking tic. So he created a program to go in and explain the medical issues to law enforcement, and he was very well received. It was really wonderful.
Are you rolling that out, on a broader basis in the county?
Yes, our chapter is planning on rolling that out to all the areas that we serve, which includes Westchester, Putnam, Rockland, and Orange counties.
Andrew, what's the most important thing that you want people to know about Tourette syndrome?
So, of course, this is going to sound cheesy, it's going to sound cliche, but it's always really critical to just understand that people with Tourette syndrome are people, and it doesn't by any means define their personality, who they are, their experiences as a human being. It's really just like a little extra thing on the side that people struggle with, but it doesn't define your character. And when it does, that's when people need help, because that's when they're struggling really badly with it.
Okay. Helene, how can people get more information about Tourette syndrome if they have someone in their world that needs advice, or they want to know how to deal with it?
Well, there are vast resources at the Tourette Association of America's website, tourette.org. And if you want to find out about local events and resources, you can visit our chapter's website at taa-nyhv.org.
Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, May 15th to June 15th, Tourette Syndrome Awareness Month. For LMC Media, I'm Maura Carlin.